In this video, we're going to learn how to convert between different data types. So crank up a project in Visual Studio, make a template, or open up a brand new file if that is what you like to do. Okay, so once you have a static void main available, we're going to type the following code. So console.writeLine, like this. And now you will say here max value of short data type, put a placeholder in there, period, and then comma, and then type short dot max value. Okay, so a short is another data type. Okay, it's a small data type. So short is another data type, and the max value will simply tell you the maximum value that the short type can store. Alright, so that is the point of that. Next, we're going to make an integer. So you're going to type integer x equals, and then put in some number like 455, for example. Okay, so make an integer. And now you're going to type short and then y equals, and now we're going to apply what is known as a cast, an explicit cast. So you're going to type short and then x and then close with a semicolon. Okay, so this is an explicit cast. It's clearly stated, and the cast occurs because here within the parentheses you have the word short being applied to the x, like that. So that's that. Now next, let's take a look at the next. Next we're going to take and make a new data type called long. Okay, long, like this. Z and set that equal to x, like this. Okay, so store value of x into z. That's the next stage. And long is another data type. The long ones are very big. They can fit very big data. Alright, so let me delete this reference code. And now what we're going to do is display some stuff. So type the following: cw tab. Okay, that's a snippet. And when you hit tab, it expands it for you. And now you're going to say here the value of y is, and then put a 0 there as a placeholder. Okay, and now to split text over multiple lines, you have to be very careful now. Okay, imagine I have the following, and the value of z is like this. Okay, so I have two placeholders. That means both of them have to be replaced. This is the first one, and this here is the second one. This is the second placeholder. Both of them have to be replaced. So put a comma, a y, and then a z, and close that with a semicolon. There you go. Now, if you want to split text over multiple lines, this is what you can do. Imagine I enlarge the font in the window, so this is what happens as a result, you see? Okay? When you want to, this is what you do. Choose a line somewhere, okay? Put a double quote, a plus, another double quote, and then move that down a line, like that, you see? So make sure that when you split text over multiple lines, you can do that, as you see with the plus, okay? Put a plus. Right? So close the first string like this with its own double quote, then put the plus, and then reopen and close again on the second line, like that. So this is how you can split text. Alright? Now here, let me expand the size of the window a little bit. Like this, you see? Alright. And same thing applies, say, over here. Now, on the other hand, one more thing that's important. Take a look. If you want to break text up that is not in the middle of a string, like this, you can just do that. You see that? That's fine. That's not a problem. Okay? So the plus is required only when you're breaking a long string over a couple lines, like that. Okay? So this is our final program right here. Okay? So please see the difference. They're not the same. Alright? So that looks like this. Now to run this, take a look. Let's go here with debug and step into. So F11. Alright, there you go. So at first, if you look in the locals window, you've got your x and y and z, and each one has a value of 0 and 0 and 0. That's fine. Okay, so I'm not going to it. You're going to make a display there. Then you're going to say integer x equals 455. Okay? And now, here, As you can see, the short data type, if you expand that, it tells you a lot of information about it. The basis object, and it tells you the max and min values for it. It's relatively small, okay? There you go. So we're going 455, and 455 has been saved into Y, and that's okay. It fits, correct? So the explicit cast has worked, no errors. Right, same thing with the saving of X into Z, that works perfectly well, no problem. Then you display that, and then you pop out of the program, and that's it. Okay? So, now imagine explicit cast works. Okay, that's the big idea here. No problem. Imagine I do this. I remove the short, and I place my mouse here, and notice the little X gets underlined with a red squiggly mark, and it says cannot implicitly convert type integer to short. Okay? That means you cannot implicitly convert. That means when you want to convert from integer, which is bigger, to a smaller one like short, you have to have an explicit cast. You have to have that word in front of it. You have to have the word that represents the new data type. So in our case, short would be the data type of the one on the left side, right? Away from the integer into the short. So that is what you would put there. That would be the explicit cast. And now, in the case of the Z here, you don't need that because the Z easily fits the X. If you take a look at this, debug and say step into one more time. This is interesting, deserves our attention. If you hover a mouse over integer and you expand that, see the max and min values? Even the maximum value, look at it. It's quite big. But for the long one, if you look at the maximum value, it's much bigger. So the integer easily fits into the long, no problem. Same thing with the lower negative one. Okay? Now, if you look at the short, look at the max value. It's only 32,767. That means an integer has a max value of a huge number. It's possible that if you try to squeeze an integer into a short, it fails. Let's take a look at what happens when that happens as a result. Okay, so take the integer over here and rewrite it as some big number like this, okay? Now, build this. Make sure it takes F7 builds. On your computer, maybe the key combo might be a little different. So that looks like this. Now let's go here with debug and step into. Now take a look. X, Y, and Z each is initialized to 0. That's fine. No problem. Right? Then you're going to do this. Okay, that big number is assigned to X. And then take a look at the next stage. When you apply the short cast to the X, the result is a value of Y that makes no sense. It's negative. Data loss has occurred. This is a problem. Obviously, you don't want, this is not acceptable, correct? Because that means the data is being destroyed. However, at the next stage, the value of X is copied quite safely into Z because long is long enough to fit integers. Okay? So now you see also what happens when big data, when you try to squeeze a big number into a small number or a data type that does not fit it. There you go. So these are the fundamentals, data conversions, and the point is be very careful, especially perhaps in financial applications, because there something like this could be catastrophic, right? In terms, imagine you have a bank and you're losing a lot of money because of poor code.